No.
Do you want to see how I made this? I start with a liquid cyanotype formula. It's a part A and part B. Once combined, it creates a light-sensitive photographic chemical. The chemistry has a really low viscosity, so make sure you wipe it up because it will get everywhere. Then pour the combined mixture into a tray. Get a piece of watercolor paper and a craft sponge and paint a thin single-layer coat onto the paper. I like to do these oval shapes, but you can paint the paper right up to the edge if that's what you prefer. Once coated, set it aside to dry in a dark place away from UV light. I'm using a contact printing frame used for alternative process photography. I set the back side down and the paper on top of that and make my arrangement. Today I'm using a dahlia and indigo flowers for my printing. I tried to make this composition in a way that would showcase the sort of wilty, droopy nature of these indigo flowers. I thought was really elegant. I fuss over this part until I get it just right, and once it's right, I place the glass from the contact printing frame on top of the image, flip it over, but try to keep everything intact while I flip it over. The pressure from these levers will hold everything in place during the printing process. Wipe down your glass, make sure there's no sponges or pollen from previous prints, and then set it out in the sun. I'm printing this in November, and I chased the sun for about 45 minutes. I moved it to different locations to try and keep it in the brightest, sunniest areas. I don't really recommend this. I much prefer printing in the summer months where my exposure times are more consistent and predictable. Once that lime green background has turned this grayish color, I know that my exposure is complete, so I remove the print from the print frame, I take off the glass, and then I'm removing the flowers. I try to save the flowers if I can after printing, but sometimes the pressure is just too much and some flowers don't make it for a second round. Because I was printing fresh flowers, this dahlia imprinted some of its pollen and moisture and left that sort of darker area in the center of the flower, which I really like, but some people try to avoid. Anyway, I washed this for about a minute and a half under constant running water with a hose, and then I added a splash of hydrogen peroxide into a cup of water. This oxidizes the print and instantly increases the contrast. I let the print dry for about 24 hours, and then I photograph all of the prints at a high resolution so I can make reproductions. I edit those and I add them to my website. I always do a original cyanotype blue and then an inverse option. Every reproduction print is printed by me in my home studio, cut down to size, titled and signed by me, the artist, packed and shipped mostly in the US but also internationally.